Welcome back. Among the most important achievements of the July 23rd, 1952 revolution is the establishment of the General Authority of Cultural Palaces, cultural centers, and other cultural institutions to achieve a democratic distribution of culture and compensate areas that had long been deprived of the fruits of creativity that Cairo had monopolized. Again, that is one of the most important cultural achievements: care for monuments, museums, and support for cultural institutions established by the former cultural system. And to talk to us about that, we have the pleasure of having with us here on Nile Cruise Dr. Mohamed Badawi, who is a tour guide and who comes from the Egyptian Museums of Historical Figures. Thank you very much, Professor, for being with us.
Thank you so much. Actually, it's my pleasure to be here today, and thank you so much for give us opportunity to be here today in one of the most important national museums all over Egypt. So, my gratitude.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Mohamed, it's a pleasure to have you again here on a very special day, which we celebrate the July 23rd revolution, of course, and it's the 67th anniversary. And of course, Dr. Mohamed, there is no doubt that there are many cultural gains to the revolution of the July 23rd, the most important of which is the interest and care of museums. We ask here the importance of museums and their national role.
Actually, we have to know first what the meaning of museums. Museum as a word, according to the ICOM identification, it's a non-profit organization. It's a goal to preserve, educate, to interact, engagement the people. So it's very important to know the museum not only to just exhibit items, to not just say, wow, what a nice story, storytelling or something. It's far away beyond this. It's something like engagement for all different kinds of community, for all categories of the community, of the people here, to be interact with our culture and our civilization in whatever, national or history or modern history, in whatever. So it's very important. Actually, even now, even now for museum all over the world, they have different goals. Actually, they promoting accessibility, they promoting educational programs to help the people, to encourage more and more, to even to come and interact, to engagement with the community of museums in general.
Dr. Badawi, talk to us about what the other great personalities that you are portraying at the Egyptian Museum of Historical Figures, along, of course, with late President Nasser.
You talk about the return for the museum for the tourist business. Actually, it's very important for the museums in general to have the hard income, hard currency for our income in our country. That's why, if you look at for Egypt today and yesterday, you'll see something different. Now the government have new vision or strategy to build many museums all over Egypt. We have the Grand Museum, actually, which is a government, and all the sector of the government focus enough to help this and to finish this with the limited time. Even we have this nice museum, Nasser Museum today. We have a Nemik Museum in the Fustat area. So the government actually trying to do a lot to help to finish a lot of museums and to build many museums. You can believe Egypt, with this great civilization and with a great history, we have not more than 150 or 200 museums. In return, if you go to Germany, for example, you will see there it's more than 6,000 museums. You see how it's different.
So you mean we should be working to do more museums here in Egypt?
For sure.
So, because of our great civilization?
Yes, because there is a philosophy of any museum, you know, the museum, there's something called the object values. So it could be anything. It could be this table, it could be this paper, have a value or have a history behind this. So we have to exhibit more and more, and we have a great culture. We have a great heritage. We can do it, and we can make many museums to exhibit or to present this our culture for all the people all over the world in general, and for the Egyptian people themselves in particular.
Dr. Badawi, the Gamal Abdel Nasser Museum, where we are sitting now, and of course it used to be the late president's house as well.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about it, about the important items here in the museum?
Actually, President Gamal Abdel Nasser time, it was a great time. When we talk about President Nasser time, it was a great time for example, it's many events happened at that time. The nationalized the Suez Canal, for example. It's many interacts. It's many many things happen in that time. So we have to identifying and to focus on for what is happening in this era, the advantage and disadvantage. And this is a problem, to be honest. This one of our weakness here in Egypt. We all the time focus on for the good things, the wow. Okay, what about what is the mistakes happen in that time? We have to focus on as well. It's not that personality with the time of era of Nasser, but to learn from our mistakes from the past to the future. And that's what is the old museum all over the world, in metropolitan, in all over museums all over the world. So they know this, and they do this to improve their country, to do something for the future much better. That's why I'm totally honored with our current president Fattah al-Sisi now, because the government now has a new strategy, has a new vision for all the sectors, all kind of culture, heritage, economy.
Sports.
Yes, yeah, we suffering from some, you know, we suffering from some weakness or some hard decision for economic situations. But if you're looking far away, or you're looking for the new generation that has got the benefits from these decisions, you will got, no, we are going with the right way. So we have to do something like this House Museum or National Museum a lot, not only for the President Nasser or President Sadat or whatever.
Dr. Mohamed, the impact of museums on Egyptian tourism.
Actually, most of our tourists came for the culture. Tourists, actually, they like to come here to visit the museums, to visit the heritage sites like the pyramid and so on. So this kind of the income for us, because when they come here and pay tickets, and this ticket, the income of this ticket going for our income, you know, and the improving the business field for the economic business for the tourist business and so on. So it will be a great impact. So you can guess, what about if we improve more? We make something like theater, some activities in the museum. So we will gain a lot of benefits from this all of activation.
Yes, Dr. Badawi, the small generations need to visit such great places like the one we are in today to know more about their history. And of course, coming here and seeing by yourself pictures of the late President Nasser and his belongings and so on will educate our children even more than the books they read in. It will also give them, Rana, I think, a sense of belonging.
Exactly,
Yes,
Mohamed. I want to add to what you said, that schools, I think, from my point of view, should add this visits in their own.
Definitely,
Yes.
that's why the new
curriculum
museum
should be
now.
part of their actual work, homework, or
I think so as well.
or schoolwork that they do.
Definitely, yes,
Because
because-
when you see something, is not like when you learn it.
Yeah.
Listen, in the past, the museum, our museum, is too boring, to be honest. There is no activities. but we can say 10 years ago, we started to make activities for the new generation to attract for this new generation. Because if you go to the children or for the young generation or teenagers, tell them, let's go to visit the Egyptian museum, for example. It's too boring, history, that's too much, we don't need this. We need something interact, something like technology, something like that. That's why the people who's working in this field now in the Ministry of Antiquities, they have the awareness now to do something like interact in the museum nowadays, and they do this in the Grand Museum. And there's something else, by the way, beside the new generation. What about the disabilities? What about the people with disabilities? This is the most important. The people with disabilities, they have rights to come to the museum, and they have rights to find something like accessibility, to engagement with the museum in a good way, to not feeling isolated from the community. That's why even the people who's work the professionalized now, this working with this field, the museum field now, they promoting accessibility or access scheme to doing something like interact for those people with disabilities.
We are closing out this episode, and which I really enjoyed personally, being here in the place where the late leader Nasser lived, and which is now the Nasser Museum. How do you personally feel being here and when touring and watching the belongings of the late Nasser?
You ask me personally?
Yes.
I'm a man of museums, you know. My master degree in museum studies. That's why you ask the wrong person about that, because
I want to ask about your
I feel in love with museums in general.
Yeah.
And I feel in love with
you
President
might look at it in a
Nasser's
scientific way, maybe more.
Yeah,
but I want to ask about your feelings
even before to be in the scientific way, I like museum in general. I like to be in one of the greatest character like President Nasser in the last 50 years. Actually, we agree or not, he's one of the best in the last 50 years. So I feel proud here to be here, actually, to be with you guys. And
thank you, it's our pleasure.
It's my pleasure, actually.
Dr. Mohamed Badawi, tour guide. Of course, you just mentioned that your PhDs was in museums.
Yeah, in museum and heritage.
And heritage. And today we are at an amazing museum, which is Gamal Abdel Nasser, late leader Gamal Abdel Nasser's museum. Of course, on a very special day, Mohamed, which is of course, 23rd of July revolution.
We have a great history,
the 67th
actually.
anniversary of this amazing revolution, which marked a turning point in
Actually, we have a lot to present, so
we
have to work more for that.
Thank you so much, Dr.
You're
Mohamed.
welcome. Nice to be with you.